Welcome back to Ball Watching. Happy Sunday to you all, and happy Mother's Day to you all. I'm sure, Justin, I think last time I checked the stats, we had about 80% mothers listening to us on the stats. So, to all you mothers out there, thank you for all you do. To my wife, Maggie, thank you for all you do. To my mom, Kim, to my grandmas, and everyone. Justin, I know you shouted out Bev on the last pod, but hell of a day for mothers, and hopefully there's putting those feet up, sipping back some mimosas today, and just chilling and enjoying this city W.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Mother's Day. That's why I was just looking down at my phone. I had to send the link to my grandma. Shout out to my grandma Lou, who's inside. I'm out in Washmo at her house, and celebrating Mother's Day with her and my mom. She's on her way out here as well. So happy Mother's Day to all of them, and happy Mother's Day to Mags. She is the ball watching mother. I feel like she is my mother as well, after how much she's taken care of me through college and now. So thank you, Maggie.
And what a gift, man, for the mothers out there getting another W to add into the column this year. It feels like it's been few and far between, and that's because it has. But you know what? It's a good gift, and it comes on a good day, a beautiful day at that. I wasn't able to get to City Park, Justin, but it sounds like it was vibing last night with the weather, with just obviously the goals, and with just the occasion for the weekend.
It absolutely was vibing. It was a TIFO game, which we thought would happen as well. Dude, the coolest thing I will say also, before the pitch, I mean, the pitch was rocking before, during, and after. Before, I was like, wow, that is a massive group over there. Like, who is that? Tom Barlow's family had over 100 people at the pitch, and they had shirts. I just put it up on our Instagram, too, because I took a picture with Tom after. And it had, like, Chicago Fire logo on the front, and on the back it says, Barlow's back in his city. It was really cool. And they had a massive group of people. So it was really cool to see that showing.
That is cool. No, that is cool. You know what else is cool, Justin? To see some more consistency in the 11. Not that you know what? I'll take that back. Not that I think it's cool, but it makes it easy to predict, and you kind of know what you're getting from these guys now. And it's something I think we clamored for at times last season to get a little more consistency in our best 11. This is not our best 11, but it's the best 11 I think we can roll with right now, considering all the injuries and those that are coming up to speed. So we went with the same 11 last night for the third straight game, right? So not a lot of change between this team. I think this team's benefiting from that chemistry-wise, because I do feel like, you got to take a step back for a second and realize this is Chicago. They're not anything to write home about, but you do got to get the business done at home, and you do got to put the ball in the back of the net. And this team is, I think, taking incremental steps, specifically this 11. So I was really excited about the performance last night.
Yeah, I'm completely fine with the 11. I do think, obviously, we've been missing Blum and Leuven for a little bit. Nilsson is still an interesting one to me. You called it on Heber. I still thought that we were going to somehow throw Nilsson in there. And there we could see some change-ups. I know we're going to talk about LAFC in the second half of this, but I'm a little confused by the whole Nilsson situation because he's definitely healthy by now. It's been like 2 or 3 weeks since he's been off of the injury list. And it was just a rib, too. So that was a weird one to me. But, I mean, the starting 11 is getting it done. And like you said, I mean, yeah, it's Chicago, but you got to get the points where you need to get the points. You have to beat the teams you're supposed to beat to be able to climb the ladder.
Let me just say one thing, Justin, before we kind of get into the first half and second half. This is more on a lighter note. God, it was fun talking to some of those Chicago fans on X, Twitter. I don't know if you had any fun on Instagram, but man, I put out a tweet referring back to the Coochie Magnet _69 TikTok that Chicago Fire put out last year, acting like St. Louis is their younger brother and all this. It was just so bad. It was so cringe. And I got a lot of Chicago folks waking up around 10 a.m. on Thursday when their jobs start in my DMs and replies on this. And God, it was brutal. Like I appreciate some good banter for sure. But these guys were calling us petulant kindergartners. Justin, they said you and I were recording the show from our toilets. Let me think of some other. Oh, someone told us to cry harder. I thought that was a really good one. It brought me back to 4th grade. And it just, I was keeping some receipts, man. They learned how to take screenshots too about last year's results. It was really cute. It was fun. I do feel like the rivalry is on now, and I think it's more off the field than it is on the field.
We had some replies on Instagram too. People commenting like, "Oh, and then you guys went and lost to us twice in a row." And I was like, "Okay, that's all. That's fine." We already knew what was going out there. They literally have to try to pivot the argument to anything because that video, if you guys haven't seen it, go to our Twitter or Instagram. It's embarrassing. It's about that Coochie Magnet 69. Like, oh, we train harder, we play harder, and then he backs up into like the other 7 Chicago Fire fans. It was sad.
Oh, so sad. I'm just so glad I'm not, just like old and like, we've been in the league since 1997, wait till you win some trophies. I'm like, all right, old man, But let's kick into it, Justin. It was a hell of a start. I want you to walk me through how it felt in City Park for this first goal. But I mean, we talk about coming out flying out of the gates and just punching them in the mouth. What a start. Rasmus Alm, I will say, I mean, what a screamer of a shot. It wasn't like it was tucked in the far corner, but it was from distance. It had great pace, great dip on the ball as well. And Chicago kind of shot themselves in the foot with having those two defenders collide that fell to Alm in the first place. I do want to say, listen to the post-game press conference from Carnell, and he did say, we didn't pick this up. We picked up the shot stat, but I couldn't find this one. But they have intel enough, obviously, to say that Chicago is conceding the second most shots from outside the 18. So Carnell basically told the boys in practice, like, let loose. Just fire away if you find it. Rasmus Holm took that to heart.
He took it to heart immediately, Jake. It was a minute and 30 seconds into the game. Like, people were still filing into the stadium. It was kind of absurd. I will say the shot itself, not good. Like, if you watch, he was almost reaching for it. And I mean, I'm fine with him. He took the space, and it wasn't as far out as I originally thought. Like, watching the replay, I'm watching it again right now. It's like probably 25, 30 yards out. But he like reaches for it, and that's what puts so much knuckle on it. I don't know what Brady was doing in net because he was outside of the 6. I think if he is a step or two back, he catches that shot, to be completely honest. So, I mean, I'm completely happy with it. A great shot by Alm. I think it was a little bit of a reach, not just on the shot itself, but shooting it from there. But, hey, you can't score if you don't put pucks on net.
Yep. Speculative effort, I would say, but one I'm glad he made. And then he made another one a couple minutes after, and it was nowhere close. So I'm glad he just cashed in on that first one. And good for him to score. I don't think he'd even taken many shots so far this season. But getting in more of the first half, it's good to see Berkey lively on the long balls and the punts and the volleys distribution yesterday. I think it was pretty solid. It was good to see Durkin getting up the field as well. Man, that dude covers so much ground. They showed a stat, Justin. You wouldn't have seen it, I guess, because you were in the stadium, but I think they said his average distance covered per match is about 6.5 miles right now. So, I mean, the man just covers so much ground. One of those chances he's able to square it up for Klaus, who skied his effort. And you start to worry, is it going to be another night like that where he's missing these, not that these were grade A chances, but good chances, good half chances that I think you expect your number 9 to make a good amount of. But you also see him cashing in on the supplier role as well, combining with Celio, combining with Alm. I think he was doing a lot of good 1-2 combinations and good hold-up play that I think got him flipped on enough and got him going enough that probably put him in a good place to eventually score those 2 goals.
No, I completely agree. I would say right when he skied that first chance, the guys that sit around us looked at me too, because they're like, we heard how much you and I were kind of complaining on the last spot about how he literally had 5 shots and not on goal. I'm like, they turn around and they goes, number 6 in a row that he has not had on frame. So it was kind of a running joke, and obviously Klaus picked it up in the second half. I will say I'm still the one thing, and it was even more, I guess, more apparent to me in the first half with him still not having a goal for a while, was his attitude. Like, if you watch this, like he walks around like he's Ronaldo, but yet he has, before coming into this game, 3 goals in the MLS in 11 games. So I was a little frustrated with that, but obviously he did turn it back around. And I think you can have that attitude when you are producing. And he ended up producing a little bit more in the second half.
No, it was good. Who else really, I feel like, drove our team, especially in the first half last night, was Indy. Looked very lively. His free kicks were insane. He had 2 free kicks, one that just went wide and one that was saved by Brady. You could tell he was dialed in last night, looking to be very involved, sitting underneath Klaus. He did great. There was a moment where Totland played Alm, and Alm dummied it to Indy, who let a curler just rip wide. I think that was probably our second best chance of the evening. The other one I wanted to call out, which one was that again? It was one of the free kicks from Indy. That was a big one. And there was another one where I think you already took it as well, where Klaus, you talked about the attitude a little bit, but there was so many good opportunities where either they were blocked or they were scuffed or they were shot wide. And again, you look at yourself, you said, is this team going to be able to find that moment? Alm had a really good moment where he played an Indy who played Klaus on the underlapping run. And he just, it was a wide angle, not a very, very good angle to shoot from, but enough where he just kind of pelted the ball on frame straight at Brady, which I thought is good, forcing him into a save. But this first half overall for me, Justin, the only low light I would say, and I wonder if you have any, was just around some of our transition defense, but also some of our free kick defense. It looks like we kind of switched off sometimes, and I think part of that we ended up seeing on their goal or in the second half, which we'll get to. But I thought overall a pretty great performance. We had the foot on the pedal for the most of the first half, but you do want to get out of that, in my opinion, with 2, because you see what happens right away in the second half.
That's what I was just going to say. Before even knowing that we were going to concede so early in the second half, I was a little upset. Someone was trying. Sorry, I'm outside. I'm enjoying this beautiful day. And someone is absolutely enjoying it as well. I'm blaring music, so I want to mute real quick. I will say that's the one thing I was going to say, Jake, as a low light, is I think that we should have gotten 2 in the first half, and not even knowing what would happen in the second half, you just step on their throats and you end it in the first half 2-0. Chicago's coming out of the locker room just like, all right, let's not let up 6. Let's get out of here. And I will say it was a great first half from us. We had, just in the first half alone, had 17 total shots with 4 on target. But I will say we just need to finish those. I think one of them that I kind of talked about as well was at the game, Celio made a great run, slips in, and he ends up getting a shot off, but it was with his left and like trickles wide. He needs to be able to get his right foot on that and just put one on net. And we need to go ahead and just finish this game in the first half to end the first half on a strong note as well. You have it in here, choo-choo. Kyle Hebert absolutely just bulldozed a Chicago Fire attacker. So that was a very strong performance on the field and in the stands. People were lively. It was a beautiful night outside, and we were really trying to get these guys to get a second goal. Unfortunately, the second goal did not come from us. And I will say, Jake, I'll let you take this because I had to rewatch it after the game because I was still like at Hellcat getting a beer with some people when they scored. I didn't even see it live.
Yeah, I mean, this goal you've seen before. You don't even have to see it in real life to know what it looks like. But Mark Hanna kind of got sucked in and burned by a little combination from Chris Mueller and Shaqiri. Mueller ended up carrying the ball, 20, 30, 40 yards and looped it in a lofted kind of back post ball where it's over everyone's heads of our defenders, but one of their guys is crashing, the very far corner of the 6 and does what he's supposed to, heads it back across goal. Parker, who's now back in position, is marking Gutierrez and just cleans him out. I mean, just cleans him out. Like the guy was down for a little bit, and it falls to who ends up scoring for them. Oh, it's Kuipers or Kuipers. I think the Chicago guys were making fun of us for doing that. I don't care. And the guy's got like 3 goals this season now. They're languishing in 27th. So it falls to him. Durkin, I think, didn't expect that ball to make it past Parker. He thought he'd get the body and the ball and wasn't marking tight enough, and he just basically roofs it on a very, very easy high XG chance. It wasn't anything Berkey could have done differently, but I do think the cross defense, you've just got to be tight on every single guy there. This team kills me sometimes because I just feel like we're our own worst enemy in a lot of the goals that we give up. It's poor marking, it's bad communication, it's quick transitions, it's things that team didn't just break us down, right? We kind of break ourselves down, I feel like.
Absolutely. I would say it was a good cross by Chris Mueller, put in the back post to who I kept calling Michael Bradley. The guy looked just like him, the ball dude. I had no clue who he is, and I don't care. Yeah, and then it falls to Kuipers. It was still almost unlucky. Like he was falling backwards and put his laces through it and skied it into the net. Like nothing Berkey could do there. And I agree, Durkin needs to be closer marking, but kind of like a broken play, I would say. But either way, this is not something that this team should not even be in this game. We talked about it. They only had 4 total shots in the first half. We had 17. And then this is 30 seconds into the second half. And now we're even again. Like, how are we allowing this to happen? It's almost nervy at that point. I'm like, wow, this game, they get the next one. And we are really struggling. Because like you said, hadn't happened many times this year, only twice that we've scored more than 2 goals in a game.
Yeah, it was just taking the play to the side. I mean, you can't do that, guys. I mean, you should have been up 2-3-0 going into the end of the first half. And now you're tied at 1-1. And we've been struggling to score goals almost all season. And you concede one to Chicago cheaply like that. But the team did respond. And I think they kind of needed it. It was like a cold splash of water to the face. I mean, you know what? This team isn't going to roll over. You guys are up 1-0. Like, congratulations. You should be up more. They're going to give it to you again. So then I think we responded well. And if for me, the first half was a story of Indy and Klaus, and maybe Alm on that goal. Then we shifted to the left. And Celio became the man that you want him to be. I think every single highlight, maybe barring 1 or 2 that I took in the second half, is about Celio because he found himself 1v1 time and time and time again. And Chicago, what the hell are they doing? I mean, you got to double team this guy. He is absolutely undressing every single defender you throw at him. He was getting isolated and just welcoming, like, come on. Come on over. Let's see what you can throw at me. And just beating guys to the line, beating them inside, letting shots through, combining with teammates. That goal, I mean, it came from him in the 55th minute. The writing was on the wall already before he scored that goal because he was just, like I said, pantsing these defenders. And he's played quick after a quick free kick, and he takes the ball, carries it, gets isolated 1v1 with his defender, takes a beating. The guy basically has his full arm in his shirt trying to drag him down. Celio in the press conference also talked about how he hates diving. He hates going down with minimal contact, which is so funny because Brazilians like invented that. But I digress. He doesn't like to do that. He doesn't go down. He takes the ball to the end line, beats his defender, cuts it back, and looks up, and he sees Klaus where he should be, crashing the 6. And Justin, we debated like what part it actually hit on Klaus, but who gives a crap? I mean, the guy's in the right place at the right time and just pushes the ball into the far corner on a great cross from Celio.
I think it was his shin. That's what I think I'm going. I've watched this like 5 times. I'm pretty positive it was his shin/knee combo because it sure as hell wasn't his foot, but I'll take it. I don't really care. It was a good finish by him. But yeah, that run by Celio alone was fantastic. The cutback and then having the presence of mind to get your head up and look and then find Klaus was incredible. I think Celio did an incredible job on that. And that connection that I feel like he is starting to have now. Klaus did it after the goal. He did this. Yeah. Obviously, it was a little bit of a shout out for everybody that can't see this to Nico, who actually, shout out to Nico, Como is getting, they're getting promoted as well. It's the first time in like 26 years that they're getting promoted. So I think that's a big hats off to Nico as well. And a little shout out from his friend Santa Claus.
Yeah, big night, big day for City because that was big for him. We're obviously happy for Nico from a personal perspective, but I bet that the add-ons as part of our sale to Como had some significant add-ons for them getting promoted because they obviously get a huge windfall of money for being promoted to Serie A from Serie B. So that was a win for us, literally a financial win. And then also personally for him, great to see Klaus supporting him from afar. I mean, I go on in the second half. Can anyone stop this man? I mean, no one. It's like they formed a line and he can just continually beat every single defender they threw at him. In the 61st minute, he curled outside foot through ball for Indy, just like a banana-shaped outside of the foot through ball, and then basically gets on the end of another one shortly after and curls it just over the bar. It's like in basketball, Justin, I feel like in the NBA where someone gets hot and you just got to give them the ball and just say, you take it, we'll get away from you, kind of get you isolated, and you just take the heat check and just see if it's going to be your night. Because it really was. Anytime he got it, he was dangerous.
Celio and Indy were feeling it the entire night. It was good to see. I think those guys have the creativity, and once they have confidence, they just can't be stopped. Once those guys get there, it's like running downhill at these defenders. And the defenders are literally just backing up, trying not to fall down. So I thought it was an incredible job by them. And I will say, I'm just going to move on, Jake, to the 67th minute, the second goal by Santa Claus. It was actually a great run by him. I watched that a couple times as well. When you see him coming into the top of the 18, he was about to go to the near post, sees the defender, sees that he's going to be running to the near post. And so the defender starts going near. And then Klaus does an immediate cut to the back post. And that's where he's freed wide up. And what was the ball from? Durkin, yeah. Durkin, cross from Durkin, great cross over to the back post. And it's just Klaus and Brady. And it's too close for, yeah. He did the celebration of like jumping up and heading the ball multiple times. Like he put his whole body through that. And he needed to because it's point blank. So he had to get it by Durkin or by Brady pretty quickly. But great ball by Durkin, even better run by Klaus to realize that the defender sees him going near post and to slide to the back post where he's wide open.
Again, that's your 6. That's your defensive midfielder just looping a ball up for Klaus. I'm starting to get this feeling, Justin, that we might be underplaying where Durkin might be at his best. And I start to feel like if you get a healthy Blum, you might consider playing those three, a Blum, Durkin, Leuven midfield, and maybe that was always, imagined. I don't know if I necessarily imagined it like that. I've always kind of imagined it with Ostrak still because I just have a soft spot in my heart for him. And he played okay last night as well. But Durkin can really get forward well, and he seems to have some good presence and some good composure in the final third, and he showed that last night with that assist. So I thought that was great. Textbook finish from the man, the myth, the legend, Joao Klaus with a brace on the night with 2 goals. We saw some subs come in. No one with an outstanding, I would say, big impact, but I don't really feel like we were flustered either, especially towards the end of the game. I would like us to take the ball to the corner sometimes. I would like us to really just kill the opponent with possession, a little bit of professional time management. I would say, and I think we lack a little bit of that sometimes, and some teams might hurt us for that. Sam, had a classic Sam Adeniran chance off the bench last night in the 90+5. Just those where he gets downfield, he's running with the ball, cuts in, and shoots it just wide. You'd have liked to see that fall for his confidence, but not for your bet, Justin, because you were on fire last night. I don't think you missed anything. And I know we're going to get to that here in a second, but my God, you might need to buy a lottery ticket.
The only thing I missed was I bet on Tom to score and us to win. That would have been nice. But I will say, we talk about the substitutions real quick before we get into the stats and everything, and then moving on to LAFC. Sam coming on in the 72nd after we already have 3 goals. I think it's good to see him get a couple more minutes there. I will say that chance, though, Jake, was another just head down, and maybe I need to get over it because that's just the player that he is. It's not like finding somebody else. I don't think we're ever going to see a Sam assist unless it's a shot that's hit so poorly that it goes to somebody else. And then I will say, then we just unloaded and we brought in Nilsson, Thor, and AZ for Marcanic, Leo, and Joao. I don't really know what we're doing throwing Nilsson in there. Like, I understand like parking the bus, but we're up to, if he has any kind of possibility of an injury, I don't really know what that was about. I think it was a little odd there. I do like us getting Thor a couple more minutes, and AZ. Obviously, AZ could still be a difference maker in that sense. Still waiting for Thor to turn it on. We haven't really seen it there. And then we saw Kojima as well. Came on the 88th as well. I think that one was probably a little bit more just to kill some more time off the clock in the 80th minute, because what do you expect him to really do at that point? Yeah. But it was good to see that we were rotating in a couple of the guys. But overall, Jake, we look at the stats. It was pretty red in a good way when we're looking at this. Blue would be Chicago. So we had 47% of possession. It felt like we had 60 of it in the game, Jake. And maybe it was just us dominating in that sense. But 2.32 XG to their 1.05, 25 total shots, which I think is our second highest ever, but only 7 of them landing on target. We had 3 big chances and only missing 1 of them.
You know why it felt like that, Justin, is because where we had possession was in their third almost at all times. The field tilt last night was 72% in favor of us. So we played, we had almost 3/4 of the ball in the final third last night compared to Chicago's percentage. I'll also say, too, getting into that final third kind of possession, we had 39 passes to their 15 into the final third. Passes in the final third, like within it, we had 86 to the 31. So we were kind of knocking it around, really, poking around and being dangerous. Passes in the opposition box, we had 14 to their 10. I think we did a really good job, especially on the goals, just taking our time and being able to generate some higher quality chances when it came down to it. Chicago, from my point of view, anything they got was kind of a gift from us. They really played a lot in transition off of giveaways and bad passes, and they went long a lot too. If I looked at our average positions last night on the field, we essentially played a 2-4-4. Not a 4-2, not a 4-4-2. We played a 2-4-4 with our center backs, Durkin and Ostrak tucked in ahead of them, Totland and Marcanic on the wings, and then our front 3 and Klaus ahead of them. So we were really able to kind of move our line as a team collectively up the field last night, because Chicago's back line was dropped almost the entire night, and I thought that coming in. So really surprising to see them not really adjust for the factor that we brought to them. But Justin, heart and soul juice of the team last night. Who was drinking it last night? Because there was some Michael special stuff going around, and that's really just soul juice for them. Who was your guy?
So I knew who you were going to go with, and I wanted to be someone different. So I feel like I need to eat crow a little bit, and I'm going to give it to Joao Klaus with the brace. And I talked a lot of crap on it in our last recap. And honestly, I hope this is kind of like him getting a taste, and kind of now he's going to start snowball effect, because we're going to need it in these next upcoming games as we get into the preview of LAFC. But having 2 goals, it's hard for me not to give it to him. I will say your heart and soul juice player of the game, though, is my favorite guy.
Celio. I would have actually gone Klaus as well, but I did want to pay attention because he had just such a great performance last night. He only had 3 shots, and actually all three of them, I believe, were off target. But he generated 0.41 expected assists plus a 0.34 expected goals, so about 0.75 expected goals and assists. He was 6 touches in their 18 and 5 for 9 on ground duels won, and his completed dribbles were insane last night. So the danger that he posed Chicago all throughout the second half, he was in their nightmares last night. I mean, these guys just couldn't handle him. It was a game where you could see that confidence just flowing through him. So I was really excited for him. That he was just chugging soul juice before that and after.
Absolutely. And I just finished my Soul Juice, which is my second one of the day. If anybody doesn't have it, get to Deerbergs, get to Schnucks, go online to souljuice.com, use code BALLWATCHING for 20% off, which is actually a huge deal. Get some of this. We've been talking to Luis. They're on the run, the mobile on the runs, gas stations in Missouri as well. He's at Straub's. He's at Costco's across America. Still working on getting him into Costco's in St. Louis. Go to your Costco and ask them for it. And Jake and I just got him into a nice little additional St. Louis spot that we will release sometime in the next couple of weeks.
We will. And if you can't find it, guys, if we're telling you to go these places and it's not there, let us know, because Luis wants to know that, because, there's potential breach of contract, what have you. I won't get into the specifics, but tell us if it's not there and we'll make sure that he knows. And I promise you that will change. They have a warehouse here. They will get it there as soon as possible. Make sure that you can find it.
Every time I ask him, I'm like, dude, I was just at a Deerbergs. I didn't see it. He goes, which one? I'll call him. And he calls him up immediately. He's like, oh yeah, they were fresh out, but they brought some out of the back. So when you're there, ask the people there or shoot us a DM as well. We'll let you know.
And that is to you, Jonathan. I see in the comments saying it wasn't at the Rolla one. We know that Rolla has been selling a lot, so you guys keep shouting out Jonathan. Maybe as you just picking up in the bulk, but make sure that again, now we know. We'll let him know about the Rolla on the run, and we'll make sure that it gets there. But thank you for showing up and supporting our sponsors.
Luis was so confused when we were just on a call with him. He goes, what are you guys doing down in Rolla? Like, how are they? Rolla is selling out more than anybody else. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like, we just got some friends down there.
Oh my God. Insane, man. Well, this is a dual episode before we finally close the book. And we're not going to really close it. Yeah, I'm going to continue to celebrate at the expense of Chicago fans. But predictions and Grahammers, Justin, I predicted 2-0 double. You predicted 3-1 on the nose. And then bets, my Grahammer was a City -1.5. That cashed at +190. And your bet, City team total over 2.5. Was at +210, and you hit that. So it was a lovely night for Justin. And the charity challenge, Justin, you also guessed 3 goals. I wanted Sam to score, but I didn't want Sam to score because I think that will probably have us back in the lead.
Yeah, and then we did it. So all over on that. I made my biggest bet of the year on us to score over 1.5. I got up to -190 before the game. We talked about it on last Sunday. It was -135. So when we had these home games, guys, go make your bets. I'm going to need to make my LAFC bets today, because that is going to be skyrocketing here quickly as it comes up on Wednesday.
All right. So this is a dual episode, like I mentioned for you all. We're going to now get into the LAFC preview. LAFC also played last night to the tune of a 3-0 drubbing of the Vancouver Whitecaps, which we'll get into. But before, we played twice against them last year. Neither of them very memorable, I would say. We lost 3-0 at LAFC. It was just that, I think it was 0-0 at half, and the wheels just came off in the second with a 70-second, 80-second, 90-second minute goals from LAFC. Just that capitulation that I think, for the most part, we haven't seen this year. And I'd like to say that we've hopefully taken that out of our system. We shall see if they're able to do that again. Then we at home had a 0-0 draw, pretty quiet, not the best game, even on paper. I think it was, in the 0.7 XG for both teams. So nothing crazy. I think it was very cagey type atmosphere, being that it was more towards the end of the season. So a 0-0 tie. I think the LAFC players in the press conference, you took a note here, which I love, said they felt with the atmosphere that City brought, City Park, all the fans, all the supporters, it kind of felt like a final atmosphere. So you love to hear that respect shown from, away fans and opposing players. But they made some changes, man, in the offseason. They brought in some big names, none bigger than Hugo Lloris, who was a former Tottenham goalkeeper for, what felt like forever, a France World Cup winner. I will say, though, Justin, as big as the brand is, not living up to the hype so far. He is not the equivalent of a Berkey signing at this point, even though I would say he's a much bigger name even than Berkey was when he came over here. So I don't think they're getting the same bang for the buck.
I'm going to throw in a stat real quick on him that I was going to say for later, but 19 goals against so far for Mr. Hugo Lloris with 33 saves. That means on the 52 shots that have been on target, he has a save rate of 63%. That is actually 5th worst in the MLS for any goalkeeper that has played 8 full games at least. The most absurd stat when I was looking at that, Jake, is Mr. Stuver for Austin. He has an 80% save rate. He's only allowed 15 goals on 74 shots on target. It's by far and away the best in the MLS.
Yeah. They also brought in Edward Atuesta, one of LAFC's foundational kind of first players back when they first became a club. He's back now on a season-long loan from Brazilian top flight side Palmeiras. He's a Colombian international, former best 11 midfielder for the MLS. Kind of the right side of the midfield he sits in. Omar Campos arrived from Liga MX side Santos Laguna as their starting left back. David Martinez, a wonderkind. Probably not going to see too much of him. I think he's still dealing with an injury to the back, probably having him sidelined till the late part of May. But he's an 18-year-old Venezuelan who's supposed to be a stud right winger. So not going to see him in this, but they did go out and get him. They did lose, though, Carlos Vela. They did not pick up his extension. I don't know what's going on with that still, but Carlos Vela, people forget. I mean, he was the MVP in 2019 for the MLS, and he currently holds the best single season record for G's and A's, goals and assists, for an MLS season at 34 goals, 15 assists. Remember, MLS counts the secondary assist as well in those stats. So 34 goals, 15 assists, a lot of talk, but Messi's going to miss a lot of games with Copa America. He's already missed a couple off the bat to start the season through injuries and just rest and whatnot. There's talk. Could he get there even on a much smaller sample size? Because right now Vela holds that record.
I mean, Messi already has 10 goals and 12 assists. It's already absurd if you look at that. And that's third best in the MLS behind Christian Arango, Benteke, and Suarez, who each have 11 goals. But he's number one in assists with 12. Espinoza for San Jose only has 8, and that's in second. So Messi is still just absolutely tearing it up. I was thinking about this, Jake. Kind of want to have like a Messi tracker, just like every episode we have like 1 minute. What the hell is going on with Messi?
I like
he's
that.
Been absolutely going off. So, yeah, you will say, so Carlos Vela, Kellen Acosta, who they also lost after 2 years at LAFC, joined Chicago Fire, and we just played. Giorgio Chiellini? I don't know how. Yeah. Why did I say Giorgio? So weird.
Giorgio Chiellini. I mean, the legend, dude. I mean,
absolute legend for the Italian national team.
Yeah, I mean, Juve, he was an absolute beast. Had some good time with LAFC as well, and now he's staying on with the team as a player development coach. So cool for him to kind of parlay that into his next step in his career. Maxime Crépeau was a goalkeeper who left, obviously, for the Timbers in free agency after they got Lloris. And Diego Palacios was a left back they lost in free agency as well. This year so far for LAFC, 5-4-3 win-loss draw, sitting 5th in the West on 18 points. Home record 5-0-2. Away record 0-4-1. And then goals for 22 against 22 goals for, 19 against. Some notable results for LAFC so far is a loss 3-0 at RSL. A 2-1 win over the Galaxy and El Tráfico, a 2-2 draw versus the Red Bull, which is, I think, a really great team this year. So that's a good result for them. And 3-0 versus Vancouver. And Vancouver's been off to a good start this year. So I think they're slowly kind of getting back into it, and they have some flexibility in this roster, given the free DP slot. I see them splashing in the summer.
Yeah, I understand, like, the LAFC is a strong team, and I mean, but obviously they don't have an away win. We'll talk about the betting later, but we are slight underdogs in this game, which is absolutely shocking to me, and that's why I need to go make my best today. But why are we underdogs? Who do we need to watch out for? I love saying this dude's name because everybody calls him Denny, but I'm going to call him Dennis. Dennis Bouanga, a 29-year-old left-footed DP from France. He's 5'11", 160 pounds. Already has 6 goals and 2 assists, and he's played every minute of their first 12 games this year. He leads the MLS in shots and shots on target with 67 and 24, respectively.
He's got the green light. I will say, we like to poke fun at the name on here. He is, in my opinion, one of the best players in the league that isn't named Messi. I mean, he's so exciting when he gets in the ball. He's like a more evolved version of Celio for me. Every time he gets the ball, you stand up. He's so physical. He's so fast. He's so good on his feet, and his finishing is lethal. So I do expect him to be in the running this year for Golden Boot. Timothy Tillman, as well as a 25-year-old German, kind of midfield bruiser for them, can do a lot of great distribution as well. So you'll find him. He's got 4 goals, 2 assists, playing in all but 38 minutes of their first 12 games. So a very important part of the team. And then Mateusz Bogusz, number 19 for them, is a 22-year-old Polish midfielder, young gun, but a stud at that. Second season with them, already has more goals than last season with 4 Gs, 1 A, playing all but 63 minutes. So they've got some consistency in that midfield with some bruisers, some guys that eat heavy minutes, and guys that can play some silky, technically sound passes. And they've got, just like I said, a game breaker in Denny Bouanga.
We do poke fun at Dennis Bouanga, but I will say 67 shots is an absurd number. That is by far and away leading the MLS by 16 over the next best guy, who's on Toronto. That's just Steph Curry green light of anything. Like, this man is just allowed to shoot from wherever he wants. I will say honorable mentions, Christian Oliveira. Actually, before I get an honorable mention, Jake, what's up with this Mateus Bogus dude? Why does he have an S and then just like threw a Z on the back of both his first name and last name? Just makes no sense.
It's those Polish, man. They do it. They do
just
it.
Like Mateus Z, Bogus Z. All right, Christian Oliveira, 4 goals, 1 assist, 24 shots on target, which is tied with Dennis for number 1 in the MLS, and he only has 40 total shots. So his conversion rate, when you look at it in that sense, is way better than Dennis's. And then you got Edward Atusta, who has 2 goals and 2 assists as well. And we've already mentioned Hugo Lloris and kind of having a little bit of an off year, but still a big name and excited to see him come to City Park. That's why we have this as a clash of the goalkeepers. I will say he's not stepping up as well as he should. We talked about how like Roman Berkey is, but the name of these guys is going to be a big matchup for goalkeeping.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree. And they're coached by head coach Steve Cherundolo. Some of you might remember him from his U.S. men's national team days. He usually rolls out in a 4-3-3. This is a team that's comfortable in possession, but not possession killers like an LA Galaxy, like their counterparts are. They are a team that loves to play direct and use the speed of whether it was Carlos Vela a couple years ago, now it's Denny Bouanga. That's how he gets all those goals. As you put in front of him and you give him 1 defender, 2 defenders, he's taking it to the end line, he's cutting across, or he's taking it to the goal and having a rip. They play very, very direct. If you look at that quadrant kind of graph like we've shown you all before, where you have the quick direct attacks, high press teams, and in one quadrant, we're in like the very upper left side of that quadrant. They're right behind us, but they're in the same place. So this is a good team, and I think they have a compatible style for us in terms of playing similarly. They don't do as much of the press as us, but they love those transitions, which worries me a bit because we can be pretty frail on those transitions at times. I think what they're going to try to do is get to our half, knock it around. What I want to kind of see City do is maybe sit off a little bit sometimes and make them beat us on the possession versus play so high like we might have done it here against Chicago. And this is totally different teams, so they probably won't anyway, but that open game benefits LAFC. We can't give them an open game, just a slugfest. Make them earn it. Make them look for the windows of passes and really beat us playing some pretty soccer, because they're not known to do that. But the open field, they're crushers on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, if we look into the trends and the storylines then, so just in general for them, their last 5 away games have not been pretty, with a loss, draw, loss, with a 0.20 points per match in away games and a -8 goal differential. Completely different team on the road. I will say I feel like we had a little bit of a struggle with that last year. We've picked it up more this year, but they are still just absolutely struggling. And I will say it's a fortress when you go play at LAFC, and that's why they're so strong at home, but away, completely different team. It's going to be tough for them coming to City Park. What are some of their strengths, though? Their shots from free kicks, their attacking set pieces, and they create scoring chances. We already talked about it with counter chances or counterattacks as well. They have a lot of firepower from an offensive end with a main staple in net with Hugo Lloris.
And I would say too, like their away form, which we'll get to it right now, not just away, they're producing the highest XG in the league per 90 at 2.09. This is as of last, week before this most recent game. I'm sure they're still number 1 in the league in XG. Even being in the top 5 is incredible. They're producing though at a clip below that. So they're producing at 1.73 goals for per 90. So I think away, that's even more exacerbated because they're producing 1.85 XG in away games, which is number 1. And you're like, how do they have the best XG away, but 0 wins? It's because they're just not scoring away. They're just really struggling when they're away from home. 21% of their goals for across a home and away are coming from the 76th to 90th and the 31st to 45th. So 21% in both of those 15 minutes, but pretty dangerous across the board. I didn't see a time slot where I really feel like you've got to be flipped on for this teams. They're number 1 in shots, number 1 in shots on target, and number 1 in shots per 90s. Like I said, this whole team's really got the green light. Denny Bouanga is just kind of the biggest kind of fulcrum of that.
Yeah, I will say, Jake, I'm looking at their away form, and it'll go into my bet as well. Every away game, they've given up at least 2 goals, except for they just played Las Vegas in the Open Cup, and that doesn't count. So, yeah, it's a defensive problem that they've had as well.
And it comes on both sides too. Like open play, they're great, number 1 in shots. Set pieces, also number 1 in shots. Also number 3 in XG in open play. Also number 3 in XG in set pieces. So they carry a threat no matter what you throw at them. It's just a matter of stomaching it, getting better and trying to limit those chances and probably having a good goalkeeper performance, if we're being totally honest, and a good performance from your back line. So they will definitely advance the ball. For me, defensively, They are top 5 team in XG allowed, top 5 being on the better side of the top 5. They only allow 1.26 expected goals against per game, but they're underperforming that and that they're allowing actually 1.73 goals against per game, which is bottom 10. So teams are overperforming their own XGs against LAFC is kind of the short story there. They usually concede towards the very end of the second half or the very end of the first half. So that's when they're looking to be most dangerous against, I would say. And then looking at open play and set pieces, they're above average defensively across kind of all open play categories, shots, XG, goals. Set pieces, they're tied for the third most goals against, though. And they're about average in shots allowed from set pieces and expected goals allowed. So I do think set pieces represents, if anything, the biggest weak point for me looking at them. But this is going to be a slugfest, man. I do see a lot of goals in this game. They're not an overwhelming pressing team, but I do think they're going to look to create those high turnovers, maybe for some counter pressing, and really just look to play direct and get behind.
Yeah, and I will say they are number 1 in tackles, so it's a team that does like to get stuck in. I'm not surprised by that out of playing these guys last year. Number 1 in the attacking third, top 10 in all thirds for tackles specifically, and their post-shot XG minus goals against of minus 2.7. Minus 2.7 is atrocious, especially when you have a guy named Pua Larice and what that's going.
Yep. So keys to the game, Justin, here we've kind of gotten to some of them, I feel like organically. I'll let you take the two that you brought in here, but the things that I want to hit on are you got to, for me, maintain some level of possession here and spring your own attacks. LAFC is number 1 in gegenpressing intensity, so the counter press. We have to be really confident. When we win the ball, they're going to be back down our throats trying to take it off of us in really cheap spots in our own defensive third. So we've got to be comfortable and confident on the ball when we win the ball back. Let's just not give it right back to them and have them come right back down our throats. So we need to be really confident there. And that's playing quick passes. That's playing sure passes. That's going long if you have to. Nothing stupid, no errors in the back for me. Finishing, we saw it last night against Chicago. We've got to put balls in the back of the net, man. LAFC is going to strangle. They are not going to give us as much as Chicago gave us. We're going to need to be, you might be looking at 4 shots on goal on Wednesday, but you've got to be able to put 2 of those in the back of the net. And if they score 3, you got to be able to put 3 of those in the back of the net. So it's not going to be a big chance night unless LAFC comes and they just want to play open as well. And it's going to be, like I said, a slugfest. But I feel like our finishing's got to be on. And I think the wings are going to be a big piece of that, with Alm stretching vertically and Celio just coming inside, going vertical if he has to. I think the wings are really where I see their frailties defensively. And I think those guys are firing for us right now. So good timing.
Yeah, I would completely agree. And I would say that kind of leads into our goal or goals of the game. My specific goal, Jake, is score first. I think when we look at that at City Park, we can, if we score first, we can put this team away. And I would say I would like for us to be a little bit more ruthless in that sense compared to what we just did versus the Chicago Fire. But when we score first, we win. So when we score first, we've won 18 times, lost 2, and draw 4. So that percentage is absolutely outrageous if you think about that. And a chance that if we score first, we will at City Park, we will not come out of there with a loss.
I agree.
What is your goal? What is your key or goal of the game?
Mine is around set pieces. I don't want to allow it's set pieces and transition goals, really the most part for me. No easy goals, and that's not going to show up on the stat line, but you and I will be able to tell us if we're successful at that or not. No goals where we are caught in transition, and no goals where it's off a free kick, off of a corner kick, what have you. I don't want to give anything to LAFC. They are more than capable enough to create on their own. I don't want to give them anything. And so that feels simple, but I'm telling you guys, it's a lot harder when you're playing against these guys that will make you pay at will. So that is my goal for the game, Justin, as we head into this. And I know we're about to get into one of our favorite segments. I've got some changes here, Justin, for the Hoffman Brothers starting 11. But before I get into that, Justin, we talked about Hoffman Brothers last week. I was able to have them out for my tune-up. One of the things I was most impressed, though, by was, as part of my home protection plan, scheduling is so freaking easy. Obviously, I can call the schedule. I can schedule online. I can request a call if there's a wait time for it. And when I do get that scheduling, finally, these guys send me a window of time saying, hey, your appointment's today. Is it all right if we send a technician out in 30 minutes? And you can literally text back and be like, no, I'm a meeting for the next 30 to 45 minutes. And then the next window comes around, they'll say, hey, 30 minutes. Is that okay with you? I love how high touch it is and being able to actually go back and forth and like customize it for what works for me. When I did get my slot, they sent Carter out. They sent me a picture of Carter and Carter's bio. So I know who it is that's me knocking on my door and that I'll be working with today. I mean, who does that stuff? I mean, only Hoffman Brothers. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, it's a very personable company, and I will say that's one of those things too. If you guys haven't already seen it, they are everywhere. Their trucks are out and about every day, all over St. Louis. Give them a call if you haven't already. It's already starting to warm up. I'm starting to sweat a little bit out here. I mean, it's only like 80 right now. Do not be that person that waits until it's 100 degrees outside and then your AC doesn't catch up and can't catch up, because you're going to have a long wait when you wait for that time, unless you get a home protection plan as well. So call Hoffman Brothers today. And you can call them at 314-664-3011 or go to hoffmanbros.com.
Amen, Justin. Hoffman Brothers, white glove service. And now, on to the Hoffman Brothers starting 11. This, to me, Justin, feels like a rotation game. I know it's LAFC. I know we're at home, but we've played the same 11 now the last 3 games, and we're going to have very minimal time between this game we played last night and Wednesday's fixture against LAFC. But they'll be in the same boat as well. And I, for one, actually don't mind some rotation. I think it's okay to get some guys some minutes. I want to see some extended cameos from guys we haven't seen as much of recently. So my 11, if I was Carnell to roll into this one, would be a mix of some rotation with some, mainstays. So I'm going to go actually to Dewar on the left back side for this one. Koenig, and it's not like he's played himself out of this, but I do want to see a start for Dewar. So I'm going to go with him. I'm going to bring Nilsson back. Put him back in for Hebert. I'm going to keep Parker and keep Totland on the right side of my defense. I'm going to go through Blum back into the 11 for a start. He's not going to play near 90 minutes, maybe 60. I even worry if that's even too soon for him, but I do feel like I don't want to run Durkin into the ground. I mean, he's played so many minutes already this year, so I do worry a little bit about his fitness. So I would ideally line up with Blum and Ostrak in the holding 2. And then Celio, I'm going back to. The guy's hot. Got to keep him hot. AZ is who I will turn to in the middle. I'll give Indy some rest. I'm going to go back to Alm as well, who's also on fire. And then I'm going back to Klaus for the same reason. So a little bit of rotation in there. I could see more, maybe in a Dinneran start. Who knows? I don't think he's necessarily earned it either, but that's my 11.
Yeah, so I like your back 4, Dewar, Nilsson, Parker, Totland. I would love to see if Blum is healthy and ready to go. Let's throw him in there, give Mr. Durkin a little rest and put him next to Ostrak. I'm cool with that. Celio on the left, AZ in the middle, I agree with as well. And I was going to say, well, what if we put Indy on the right, not Alm? But Alm just scored a goal. And I feel like, at least for like a confidence and locker room thing, that's another reason why I think Klaus is going to start over Sam too, is just score 2 goals. Like, you're not going to sit these guys. I understand that, like, Alm's wasn't the best shot in the world, and neither of Klaus's were like incredible goals by him, but from a confidence thing, and if it's working, let it go. So I agree with you that we'll have a Celio, AZ, Alm, and Klaus up top.
And if Brad wants to go super heavy, great comment from Jonathan here. I could see Kojima even resting Ostrak potentially. I do worry about totally rotating the 2 ahead of the back 4 just for consistency's sake. And then I could also see a Thor spot start on one of the wings as well. If you want to give Alm a break, obviously he's been logging a lot of minutes now since his injury, or Celio. I don't want that personally, but I could see it. Who knows? But it'll be an interesting 11, I think, on this one.
Yeah, and I don't want to rotate too much because, like you said, Jake, I mean, yes, it's a midweek game, but also this is a big game. And then right after this, we have to go to Cincinnati. So it's like, take the points at home when you can get them. And I don't want us to completely rotate this. If we have to rotate a little bit on Cincinnati playing 3 games in a week, I would understand that a little bit more because it's going to be tougher to get points at Cincy. But at home against a very beatable LAFC team, I think we need to have a strong starting 11.
Agreed. This is the time to play them. They're awful away from home so far this season. And you're going to Cincinnati, who's been a pretty solid side, especially at home this season. So if anything, I think you want to roll your best 11, your most available 11 into this one, and then maybe do some rotation even on the backside with Cincy instead of this one. So a lot of different takes here. Carnell will have his hands full with some selection for this week's game. Justin, I think that shows in our predictions. You and I are both expecting goals in this one. I think part of it because of some rotation, some heavy legs, but also just some star power and some shots, some goal creation from both teams. So I'm sitting on a 3-2 dub actually at home, which I think would be electric at City Park. And your prediction, Justin, is at a 2-2 draw. What do you think here?
Yeah, so originally, Jake, and if everybody goes and looks at this, they'll probably call us out because when we originally did like the predictions for the whole month of May, you had us at a 1-1 draw and I had a 1-2 loss. But I will say that as these games come and as you could kind of see injuries and how the team is vibing, I do think that we're going to have more goals than what we originally thought earlier in the season for this. And honestly, I don't see why we would not be scoring 2 goals at home. And that goes into the bets, Jake. So as we look at this, money line, City is plus 150, LAFC is plus 145. So just barely an underdog there for us with the draw at plus 260. The over 2.5 is minus 165. Juicy because we also expect there to be goals, and the under at plus 125 for under 2.5 goals. Jake, what is your specific bet for this game?
Yeah, this is tough. I haven't been able to do as much research as I wanted to, but I know I got to lock it in now. And I think I'm going to need some good, fair odds on this right now. So I'm going to, I don't know. I think they call it an Asian total. I don't know why they call it an Asian total.
Asian handicap.
Yeah, Asian handicap. So instead of the 2.5 or like the over under there, I'm going to go to a 3, and I'm going to say an over 3, meaning if the goals total in the game is 3, we push. No one wins money, no one loses money. We get our money back. So I'm going over 3. So I need to see 4 goals in this game to make some money. But I think 3 happens relatively quickly in this game. I really do feel like there's gonna be a lot of goals in this one. That's at almost even money.
Yeah. And that's why, I mean, I'm taking it, Jake. I'm taking it at home. I don't understand why we're underdogs in this, and why, if the over 3 is minus 105, that our City to score over 1.5 goals, so 2 or more goals, is plus 105. We talked about this. That is hitting at a 70% rate at home, and it's plus money. That might be, I might throw everything that has won this weekend on that.
I mean, you have a right, man. You've been on fire. So, I mean, if you all haven't been tailing, make sure you're especially tailing Justin's bets. We're both in the positive, but Justin's hit 2 gigantics these last 2 games. So, I mean, you're sitting pretty.
Yeah, just so anybody and we're tracking it, and every time we put it up, if you look at the bottom, you can see our record. So Jake is 7-5-1 with a net plus 2.77 units, and I'm 8-5 with a net plus 6.14 units. We're making you guys money. If you guys only put $10 on each of these bets, you are still going to be up $61 with me and 27 with Jake. You put 100 on it, we're up a couple $100.
I agree, man. We're betting with our heads and our wallets, right? I mean, you know, we want our hearts are in this the whole way through, but it doesn't hurt to have a little skin in the game as well. You know, I'm on the field out there with the boys. I'm suiting up. I'm coming off the bench, and we're riding. So I'm so excited for Wednesday, man. I was so bummed to miss last night in person. It looked hype. The tifo was awesome. CityZilla absolutely just ate the city of Chicago last night. So what a beginning to a fun rivalry here now in St. Louis, because the rival doesn't start until you get both home and away.
Jake, we still need to do this. We talk about it. We need to get actually off the bench and off our butts and get onto a field and do like a competition between me and you, like a crossbar challenge or PKs or something. If anything, you could be subbing in for Mr. Hugo Lloris because he is struggling.
I'd be more than happy to. I would not want to face Joel Klaus up in a little aerial duel, though, right now. I'm sure he would clobber Lloris. I'm sure he would do some dirty things to me as well. So I will not be doing that, but we'll do something fun at some point here, Justin. But until then, again, for you all listening, thank you for tuning in here on Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers out there, future mothers, past mothers, what have you. We appreciate everything that you do. And obviously for our mothers for letting us do this for an hour and doing this recap. So recap and preview. So thank you all for tuning in. Hope you all have a fantastic week. We'll circle back sometime after the LAFC match is done, but hopefully we'll see you all at City Park on Wednesday night. Should be a glorious night. I'm hoping for another W at home before we head on the road to Cincy. So I'm looking forward to it. Should be a great battle. Justin, anything before we part?
No, happy Mother's Day. Get to the pitch on Wednesday. We'll be there as well. I'm going to go inside and enjoy Mother's Day with my mom and my grandma.
Love it. Love it. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a great week, and all for City.
All for City.